Hey fellas, it's Jaffe. I wanted to do a very fast video because I was playing Ratchet and Clank a lot this weekend, and I had this kind of epiphany or awareness about the solid state drive, the SSD on the PS5. I wanted to talk about real quick. So when they announced there would be the SSD, I saw a lot of people online, developers and gamers, talking about how this was going to change everything. And I kept going, I don't really understand that, because I was going, it's faster loading, and people were like, no, you don't understand. Like, no, I do understand. I mean, God of War 1 was one of the first games that had no loading, and we had to do all the tricks, hallways, in order to, we had places where Kratos is like sliding hand over hand and stuff slowly to dump the data in the back and load the data coming around the corner, all that stuff. I get it. I get how you didn't need that with solid state drive. And then people were showing me, and I loved it when I first saw the original Rift in Time Ratchet and Clank video. I was like, oh my God, this is so freaking cool. It's so instant. But none of that was just presentation, right? It's not like God of War, the first one, would have been better or worse without those hallway segments. We still paced those hallway segments. We put some enemies in them. We put some collectibles in them. Most players weren't really going, a hallway. And it's not that it doesn't improve the game, like the new God of War, where you have that sort of warp area with I think it's like the Tree of Life or something, when you're kind of going through that sort of surreal blue environment. Sure, you probably wouldn't have to have that, and that's great. But it doesn't really affect the gameplay. And no one, I read the developer interviews, I talked to people online, on Twitter and forums. No one could explain to me why the SSD was, a big deal. And finally, I think I understand it. Okay, so I started to understand it. We've already talked about this, but it came up again with a recent release. We talked about it with Demon Souls, right? There's two things the SSD has done so far that have really improved games for me. Okay. But what's interesting is it's not in the moment-to-moment game design. It's sort of in the quality of life experience of playing that actually makes the game better. And I'll give you the two reasons. The first one is, like we saw it in Demon Souls, where when I had played Bloodborne, or a game that was really hard, and I died, you had a good 20 to 40 second load back to respawn. And after about 10 times of that, going all the way back to the beginning, you're just demoralized. Unless you're really hardcore, you're demoralized. And I never got anywhere in those games. Demon Souls comes along, and obviously that is fixed. And suddenly I was playing that game obsessively for a month. I love that game now. Returnal is similar. I think without the SSD drive, you would not want to make Returnal. You could make it, but it would be even more punishing. Like, I can live with it because it's so quick in and out and in, that it doesn't really matter. It's not noticeable. It's part of the cadence. But without it, you'd be like, oh my God, you'd have to be really hardcore to stick with it. So the first thing is even though all of those games that we just talked about obviously were possible, and one of them was made earlier generations, that one change makes a huge difference in terms of how the game is experienced, okay? The second one I experienced this weekend playing Ratchet and Clank, and it wasn't the crazy fast shifts of the environment. Those are cool, but like I had said before, we've seen that before. We haven't seen it to this degree, but there was the weapon in, it was like the gauntlet in Titanfall 2, where you could warp between two time periods instantly. Different enemies, different spatial layouts. We've done that before, and it's cool. Hell, we did it way back in the day with Soul Reaver on, was it PS1 or PS2, where you could shift between the Nightmare realm and the normal realm. Although, again, I'm not taking anything away from Ratchet. Ratchet does it bigger and better than anyone. But here's why the SSD matters in Ratchet to me. Anybody who watches this channel or who has followed me over the years in terms of my video games and my likes, I tend to really dislike cutscenes. And one of the reasons, it's not that a lot of them are just bad. A lot of cutscenes, wannabe movies, are not very good movies. I will say the Ratchet story is getting better as it goes. They're introducing some new characters that actually are endearing, whereas the first maybe act of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is like, it's, whatever. But it's not the quality of the cutscenes, although for the most part, those are really good. It's in the past, even with something like The Last of Us. And I didn't perceive loading, but there was a very clear sense to me of coming in and out of cutscene to gameplay. And I would have to go back and look at those games because I don't think there was loading. I don't know if there was a pop. I don't know if there was just something very clear that now we're in gameplay, now we're in cutscene. I remember even when we did Twisted Metal 2012, I so wanted Calypso to have his big, final goodbye speech, have a brief little beat of a pause, and boom, we're into Sammy Hagar's heavy metal song, which we played the initial credits to. And I was so upset. I'm like, why is this pacing off? They're like, oh, well, we have to kill one and load the other. I'm like, oh, you're shitting me, right? Well, in Ratchet, the story and the gameplay are so seamless because of that drive that it no longer feels to me like, even though I know I'm not a moron, I get that it's cutscene and movie and play, and cutscene and play, movie and play. But it's so quick, it's so instant, in and out, in and out, in and out, that I don't feel like now it's time to watch a movie. Now it's time to play the game. Now it's time to watch the movie. It just feels like a marbled concoction. It feels like it's all baked into the process. And the experience that comes about from that really goes a long way for me in making it feel like I am living the story. Now, again, I don't want to be hyperbolic here. I'm not saying this is not a Warren Spector, Harvey Smith simulation. This is not like I feel like I'm on the holodeck. It's none of that hyperbole crap. It's clearly still a very linear, planned out game. But when you have that instantaneous movie to cut scene to game, it feels more like you are playing a movie, I think, than it ever has. And in that's pretty freaking cool. So again, neither of these things are moment to moment or even meta gameplay improvements. These are things that it's almost like the quick resume on the Xbox, where it doesn't make the games better. It makes the experience of playing the games better at a very high level. And in that, it improves the quality of the play experience. But the moment-to-moment meta is still the game. So I will say playing Ratchet and playing Returnal has really made me enjoy both of those games a lot more than I would have for those reasons. So I'm excited, man. I'm going to be doing a Ratchet review in the next few days. I'm super fucking annoyed by that. You can't, I know, I should just ignore people, but I can't. You can't mention anything negative. I literally put a tweet out talking about how this game, Ratchet & Clank, is probably the best looking game I've ever seen in my fucking life. So beautiful, so amazing. And then I kind of complain a little bit about, the gameplay is a little you have it in for this game, Jeffy. You've always hated this game. I can literally direct you to a tweet I did the day they announced this game where I was raving about how amazing this game looks. So I know I'm not going to get anywhere arguing with these people, but there is a point where I'm just like, really? Are you 5? Can't somebody, not come all over something that you're coming all over and still, not be a moron to you? It's just, it drives me batshit. But the SSD is good, people. I hope you're well. I'm excited for Microsoft tomorrow, today, whenever you're watching this. I'll tell you what, if they don't come with the big guns, baby, something needs to happen to that company. If they don't show up tomorrow and wow the crowds, then somebody needs to go. I don't know who it is, but they need to get somebody in that ship that they've got a great piece of hardware. They got a great service in Game Pass, but I don't know what the fuck's going on if they can't ship something. If they can't even show stuff that excites us tomorrow, there's a problem. But hopefully they will. I'm looking forward to it. Have a good evening, morning, whenever you see this. I'll see you soon. Bye.